At this point, it's not just Christians who are noticing the anti-Christian agenda running wild in Canada. And perhaps one of the earlier but very prominent examples of that took place 5 years ago, exactly where I'm standing, on Vancouver's Sunset Beach. And it involves the ministry that's gathering here today, August 31st, 2025. Christ's Forgiveness Ministry. Here's a clip of what happened when street preacher David Lynn, who leads that ministry, tried to perform sacred and peaceful baptisms at this location.
Say it again. You hate me. That's assault number 2. Are you a Christian too?
I am, brother.
You want to join us?
I want to be baptized.
Come.
Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, where I am blessed to bring you the other side of the story to what the mainstream media has been putting out when it comes to Christians who want to peacefully gather. We saw it during COVID, where only Christians were being stalked by the media as worshipers had to hide their face going into churches. We saw only Christian pastors be arrested, and we continue to see street preachers arrested all the time for doing something peaceful in the public. Well, for example, anti-Israel protesters can run rampant, chanting chants of genocide to the people of Israel or more. But behind me, you saw a clip of what happened when Ontario-based street preacher David Lynn came to this location. I'm thankful we're not seeing it today. I guess the rabid trans activists maybe got the day off for the holidays or were not aware, but we know that they are very anti-Christian, those who are pushing that, and we saw that more recently with the systemic cancellation of social Christian conservative singer Sean Foyt's Let Us Worship concerts across the nation. So it's going peaceful. We're going to talk to David Lynn. He's going to go ahead and do baptisms. But here's a little bit about what he had to say the last time.
And we saw it today. We got all the hatred and the bigotry. We've been assaulted over and over. We are the ones that preach love, not these people. This is the devil. The devil is inside of these people. The devil is inside. Look at her. Look at her. Skeleton on her face.
We did not know what was going to happen when we came to the West Coast. I was totally ignorant to the environment, to the spiritual climate. And when we touched down in Victoria, we'll never forget the day. A huge group of people were in the middle of the intersection, and one of our guys said, are they here for us? And we saw all these flags and we saw these people, and I said, I don't know if they're here for us. So we ended up going down the road and parking down the block just to kind of avoid that and maybe start preaching at another street. But someone said, hey, there he is. And all of a sudden, everybody just started thrusting towards us, and we literally got chased out of the city. It's like Bible times, you could just imagine, the apostles preaching and they coming and trying to push them out of the city. If you're going into the enemy's territory to bring back the lost sheep, the people that God has called, those who have been wounded or backslidden because of circumstances in life, you're going to face warfare. You're going to have trials. And a lot of the church is sitting in their comfort zone inside the four walls, not knowing what's really out there. And I believe it was a shock 5 years ago when the church realized what was really sitting in their own backyard. Group of people that really hate Jesus, hate the church to the point that they would interfere with a sacred ritual called baptism. And they didn't just interfere by protesting on a corner. I have no problem with protests. I have no problem with people hating on the message that we preach. But they came into the water with trumpets, with silly string, with with all sorts of things simply to stop the baptism from happening. I had one lady blowing a trumpet in my ear while I was baptizing, and she would not get out of that pool. And I was in that pool definitely for over an hour and a half, and they were so angry. About 500 people gathered here simply to stop the preaching and the baptism of the Lord. And a backdrop to that story was that we never came here to actually target any community. Actually, we started a cross-Canada tour just to gather anyone who would like to come to Jesus Christ. We never went to the gay community. We never targeted any specific community. We just wanted to see people get saved. And when we came to Sunset Beach, it was simply about baptism, just about baptism. And when you have 500 people gather saying, go home, we don't want you here, trying to stop the baptism, you know that there is a hostility within your own backyard in Vancouver. And the church didn't know that. The church didn't know how hostile. And we didn't hear any apology from the Prime Minister at the time. We didn't hear the mayor standing up for the rights and freedoms of Christians in Vancouver. We didn't hear anything. We just got backlash. The media made us look like the bad guys. The media made us look like we're here to cause trouble. And over the last few years, about 100 churches in Canada have been put to flames, burned. And you don't hear the Prime Minister or any of the government officials saying anything about it. This is the climate that we're living in 2025, where Christians are being pushed to the fringes, excluded, fired, told that we don't belong. And I think it's time, people of Sunset Beach here, that we do something. We stand up for Jesus again.
In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Now you're back here after 5 years. Thankfully, a different scene today. But why was it important to show up here?
Well, 5 years ago, we were, encompassed by a group of angry people from the LGBT community, and we didn't do anything or say anything to them. We just came to baptize, and after seeing that, the whole world saw that baptism, and I realized that Vancouver was in need of the gospel, and I had to come back and just help this city. And surprisingly, whatever happened 5 years ago, it seemed as though it stirred up a lot of people. There's more peace this time, and there's more fruit for the baptism. And so we just wanted to continue the work that we started 5 years ago, and we're seeing the fruit.
Well, reporting-wise, it hasn't exactly calmed down when it comes to, trans activists going against Christians. Sean Foyt is a recent example of that. What do you think is the driving force? Why are street preachers being arrested? Why have you gone through so much compared to, 10 years ago?
I think there's a growing, a growing hatred towards anything to do with Jesus Christ, and it seems to be just being pushed by the mayors, the powers that be. And why? I think it's a sign of the last days. The world's getting more evil. It's forgetting about God, pushing God out of the schools, and it's just trickling down to the younger generation. And people are not realizing that, God is actually what they're looking for. They're just looking in the wrong directions, and I don't even know how to answer that. It's just what I notice as a pastor is we're living in a day of evil, and the church is also a little passive when it comes to sharing their message, probably because of just the fear that the government puts on the churches. Makes people feel that you can't publicly share your faith, and even just to get things on the media or even put movies out there, it's almost like when you talk openly about the Bible or Jesus Christ, you're automatically blacklisted. So there's a fear, and I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that, but.
Well, as you mentioned, you're a pastor, but you also go across the world to preach the message. What are you noticing is a contrast, or is it pretty consistent between what you find here when you do that versus anywhere else?
Well, 5 years ago, what happened here, I've never seen that happen anywhere. So in the west coast of Canada, it seems a little more liberal, a little more anti-Christian than the other places, But for the most part, everywhere I've been going lately, it's the same sentiment. People are not receiving the gospel as much as they should. It just seems like, everywhere I go, there's this persecution against Christians, and it's growing. Islam is seemingly being more accepted, but anything to do with Israel or the church, Christianity, it's something that I guess the culture just seems to be against, and it's everywhere. So I'm actually surprised that here in Vancouver we're not getting that much retaliation. So I guess something's happening, which is good. I think more believers are getting out there, but it's happening all around the world, and
Park security was good. I asked them if everything was okay. They said it's okay. They watched for a bit. You reminded me of something when you said Islam is, sort of advancing, but then Christianity isn't being accepted as much as we're used to in Canada. And it reminds me of Quebec actually wanting to pass a law to ban public prayer. Now, on the face of that, they're saying it's probably because there have been anti-Israel protesters blocking streets and praying. But when you hear that one of our own provinces might block public prayer, what do you think about that?
Well, that goes against our whole understanding of being Canadian. I mean, being Canadian, we're supposed to be in an environment where it's inclusive of everybody's thoughts and ideas, and when you have a government saying that you cannot express yourself, meanwhile other things are like the Pride Day parade or other billboards being pushed or other agendas being pushed, it speaks of it says that Canada is becoming intolerant, and it's going against its own laws, and it makes me feel that we're becoming more communist, and it's really sad. So I think Canadians, we really have to, pay attention to what's going on, and especially the church, and we have to use our rights while we have it, and vote the right people into power. Otherwise, we're going to lose all our freedoms, and it's not going to be Canada anymore. Maybe China or Russia or I don't know.
China. Last question. It's a little bit of good news. In the past, you've been arrested. You had criminal charges against you. Of course, they were all dropped because you were being peaceful and preaching the gospel. But there's a little bit of other good news I learned about today. You said that there was a lawsuit against you, and that has been tossed. Just briefly, what was that lawsuit about, and why was it tossed?
So about 5 years ago, before we came for the Cross Canada tour, there was another street preacher that was attacked by a member of the gay community. He ran out and became violent, and the street preacher just defended his property, and he ended up getting charged, which is really sad. Long story short, he had nothing to do with our ministry, but because we're very popular out there, he just put our ministry along with this street preacher. I was on the other side of the country. I wasn't even there. Named our ministry and my name in this lawsuit, saying that I'm the cause for another street preacher protecting himself from the LGBT person's violence. And so he got charged, and then I get this notice in the mail saying I'm charged, and I hired a lawyer, and I said, he said, well, show me proof that you're not connected. We're not connected. We said all the proof, and it didn't matter what we showed them. They kept going on with this lawsuit and basically just dragged us financially down the drain for the last 5 years, just for, okay, now we're letting it go. And I didn't even know you could do that. So yes, I wasn't so vocal about it because I was just like, I don't even know what to say or to do because this is just so strange. But
The charges ended up getting dropped. I'm still waiting for the actual documents to be shown. My lawyer said the other lawyer agreed to drop it at this point, but I'm still waiting. But I guess it's technically good news, but it's just so sad that the Canadian system would allow someone to be dragged in court for 5 years when you had nothing to do with anything. You didn't even know the guy. And yeah, so that's what's going on. And I don't know if he had extra rights just because he's a part of the LGBT community or not, but I don't know what this was all about. But I just never knew someone could be dragged in court for 5 years and have to be forced to spend money. So that happened to me.
At Rebel News, we don't back down from bringing you the other side of the story, and unfortunately that is that Christians are not hateful, dangerous bigots, and that their right to peacefully gather and practice their religion matters. If you agree with that, please go to our special website called letusworship.ca and sign and share our petition today.